Hey Roman.
Yo, dude.
Did you know that the Hellcat is dead?
That would really hurt, but no, you're wrong, and I'll tell you right after the open. Nathan, I suspect you're talking about the recent news where Stellantis has decided to disband SRT, basically the engineers that put together the Hellcat under the old FCA umbrella.
That is correct. And we're talking about something that technically has existed all the way back to 1989 when they built the first Viper, when they started putting it together. That Viper crew evolved into SRT. So it's been around for well over 30 years, and it's produced some absolutely extraordinary, bonkers vehicles, and now it's gone.
Yeah, now what happened, of course, since that time, and we need to talk a little bit more about the news and the history, right? So Chrysler was purchased by Mercedes, which then basically...
Daimler Chrysler.
Yeah, Daimler Chrysler, which then basically sold it to Fiat when it became Fiat Chrysler Automobiles, which then was, merged or purchased by Peugeot, which rebranded it as Stellantis. So that's a brief history of the company. And Stellantis has announced that they're taking the SRT group of engineers, and they're not disbanding them per se, but they are taking that expertise and spreading it out throughout the company.
The name SRT is dead, and the idea of big, fat, juicy Hellcats is pretty much dead. It's going away. As a matter of fact, they're only building some of these Hellcats for like a year. For instance,
The Durango.
The Durango, exactly. And why? It hurts.
Well,
I get it.
First of all, so what does SRT stand for?
Scurvy rats on
Testosterone?
Testosterone. You got it, exactly.
I think it stands for Street Racing Technology. And it's the performance arm, of course, of Dodge. They were the ones that came up with... mainly Dodge.
Yeah.
They were the ones that came... And Jeep, of course. They were the ones that came up with some of the craziest Hellcat-powered vehicles out there. And so let's talk about the vehicles that we're talking about.
Oh, the history goes way back.
I don't want to go into the Neon. There was one of those.
Well, the Neon was super fast at the time. It was one of the fastest cars in its class. And then they did the Caliber, which was the most nightmarish, crazy, stupid vehicle ever, but it was really fast. 285 horsepower, front-wheel drive. Bad idea. I drove one. Nearly killed me.
You're making my point.
But that's the thing, is that these guys are drinking like Red Bulls and too much cigarettes and caffeine and everything else. So they're like, yes, do this.
So let's not talk about ancient history. Let's talk about recent history. So first they came up with the Challenger Charger Hellcats, right? We were there at the launch.
Yeah, we did those.
And then, of course, they went on this tear to Hellcat everything. So they took the engine and they put it into the Jeep, which was crazy, right? The SRT Grand Cherokee, 0 to 60 in 3.4 seconds. Cannot go off-road.
Well, sort of can. I put it on a dirt road once. It worked.
Not really go off-road. And then, of course, more recently, they stuck that engine into the Durango.
Thank God, because that is just an awesome Durango. And remember, SRT has actually done non-Hellcat engines in these vehicles as well, and they're ridiculously fast as well.
Yeah, they're the big displacement Hemis, of course. And then, of course, they stuck the Hellcat, which I think was the best application, into the TRX. So now and they're not calling it a Hellcat, but it is a Hellcat.
It is a Hellcat engine. Now, the thing is that this isn't going to necessarily get rid of the Hellcat engines overnight, but with SRT vanishing, you're going to see less of these vehicles in the future, and then they'll replace them with something, I'm guessing, right?
So here's my argument and why I don't think it's dead. So first of all, sometimes it's good for, groups to be broken apart and put back together again, right? They kind of get old and stale, and they've been together a long time, so maybe it is time to take that knowledge and spread it throughout the company, as opposed to Hellcatting everything. And I know that is probably hard for many people to hear, but from like a corporate standpoint, that might be a smart move.
It might be. I'm kind of bummed. I knew that the V8 was coming to an end with recent announcements and everything else, but I was hoping that if they electrified things, they'd have these SRT guys drink more Red Bull and do all these other things and get really stimulated and find a way to make that type of power happen in these new cars and call it the SRTE or something like that, which they're not doing.
And you make the other point that I was going to do, which is, of course, electrification is coming, even long before Peugeot. Sergio, who used to run FCA, said that, they were committed to doing electric vehicles. And we've had kind of conversations with some of the engineers engineers and some of the designers who have said, we were like, hey, what's happening with the Challenger? What's happening with the Charger? And they're like, just you wait. I think deep down in the bowels of now Stellantis, they are working on very quick electric vehicles that will replace. They may not have the SRT moniker, but they will be, like Barracuda that's all electric, stuff like that.
Yeah, one can only hope. For years and years and years, SRT has managed to take what would be a kind of a pedestrian vehicle and turn it into something hot. And it was like the American version of the M brand or the AMG brand. You know what I mean? It really had punch to it. And with that leaving, it sort of takes the sting out of it for a lot of people. They no longer have that punch. And that's the part that really depresses me. I feel that with this leaving, with the name SRT leaving, with it being disbanded to a certain degree, we're sort of losing a little bit of the soul of the muscle car.
Yeah, and I'm arguing here that what's going to happen in America is not the same thing that's happened in Europe. But let's face it, if you look at Peugeot, they have not been in the forefront of building a lot of high-powered performance vehicles.
Well, actually, they do have some high-performance vehicles. They have some small, sporty cars. But
yes, but
in terms of muscle cars, they don't have those.
The exact opposite of what an American.
Yeah.
Right. And the Europeans come from a different. Culture and a different kind of background when it comes to what performance cars are like. So you're right, there are a lot of small, let's call them GTI-like competitors that Peugeot has been building. But certainly, in Europe you've got very tight cities with small roads with not a lot of open space in between them. And so kind of they look at us and they say, all we can build is cars that go fast in a straight line, but once you hit a curb, it's useless. But that's America, right? I mean, our highways are dead straight, and it really is about stoplight.
It's not our fault that we have awesome roads. And by the way, a lot of our vehicles do handle quite well, just not as well as some of theirs. The thing is that at the end of the day, Roman, and I think you guys might agree, is that just the idea of taking the name SRT away kind of hurts. And that's sort of my perspective. I get it. I understand why they're doing it. I know you guys understand why they're doing it. But it hurts.
Yeah, and the cynical part of me has to agree with you, because if I were a company and I wanted to electrify everything and turn, the brand that was known for building performance cars into the brand that's known for building economy electric cars, then the first thing I would do is say I would be taking the, the engineers and spreading the expertise throughout the company when you're really just disbanding it.
Right.
That is, of course, the fear that you have. And my hope is that is not what they're going to do, but in fact, they are going to take that knowledge and they're going to continue down the performance road. Because let's face it, Nathan, the history of French cars in America, especially French cars like the Le Car, right?
That's
littered.
That's not Peugeot.
No, it is not. It's Renault, but is not littered with success.
Yeah, well, the Americans do have a hard time, but it's not as if they're going to have a sea of French cars come this way. They're going to combine technologies together, and we know that now. We also know that they have some plug-in hybrids that are really good overseas. We'll probably see those here in some form. My issue goes all the way back to the simple, old-fashioned American feeling of having SRT as a badge on a car, letting people know that the driver may not be mentally stable. And that, to me, is a really important thing. I think if Stellantis and I hope these people are buffs of history, because there is a lot of great lessons to be learned from what FCA did wrong, right? So one of the things that, of course, we all as enthusiasts wanted when FCA purchased or became FCA and Fiat purchased Chrysler was that they would bring over some of those iconic cars, right? Yeah, like some of the Alfa Romeos.
Let's go through the brands and see how they're doing, okay? So let's start with Fiat. How is Fiat doing?
Fiat's barely alive.
I actually looked before this on the local dealerships to see what cars Fiat was selling at the Fiat dealer. There are two in Denver, like north and south. Guess what car they have for sale? And only two new ones.
The 124.
Exactly. Yeah. Only two. Each one has two 124s. Yeah. So the 500 dead, basically here in America.
Yeah, except for the
500L.
Thank God, finally gone.
Right, dead.
Yeah. The 500X is still being built. And
But
the
not for
one-
sale apparently in Denver.
Well, actually,
I mean, you can't look at.
no, it's not a success story.
It's about as bad as it gets.
Yeah,
right?
they're doing horribly.
And let's keep going down that list of cars that we lusted for. We were hoping that they would bring to America, and they did, and they just completely bombed. Maserati, that's another one.
Yeah, it hasn't been doing that great.
Right? I mean, Maserati has the most popular and best car the Maserati sells is the Quattroporte, which was around for like the last 20 years, which was around before, actually, right?
Yeah, it's been around for a long time.
Yeah, the other ones are just basically.
Beefed up versions of other, yeah.
And then the one you said, of course, which is the one we all lusted after, was the Alfa Romeo. And Alfa Romeo has, as far as I can tell, 2 cars it's selling.
2 cars with different variants, but the thing is, none of them are manual transmissions, which is what a lot of people here wanted, and they said, no soup for you.
Right.
I get it. I agree with you that they've made a lot of mistakes, but they've also done a lot of things right.
And what has worked in that time? SRT.
Shoving in giant engines into small cars. That's exactly what's worked. And SRT has been doing that. And on top of that, they've done other things that have been pretty bright as well. Look, guys, once again, I get it. I understand that, we're evolving and we have to have engines that don't, pollute and blah, 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 blah. I get it. But maybe there's a way to save SRT, bring those guys into the folds, let them build some bonkers electric or hybrid electric vehicle. Let them be SRT.
Yeah, so I think if you want to be successful here, and this I think Nathan and myself are both on the same page here, right? What you will do is you will not disband SRT, but rebrand it, like you said, SRTE, and create some crazy fast bonkers electric cars that actually will sell here. If the goal is to bring small European family movers, with a French name to America, you're going down the same path as FCA, and it won't be long before Stellantis is going to have some other silly name.
Yeah, we're still trying to get over the name Stellantis, just to be honest with you. But yeah, let's see if you guys can appeal to the American audience by maybe cutting us a little bit of slack and bringing SRTE in. And by the way, because I came up with that name, I want a nickel for every car you sell.
The point is, SRT is hugely successful, so Stellantis, run with it. Just run with it.
That's kind of what our bottom line is here, guys. Yeah, at least you agree with me on this. Don't kill SRT. Find another use for it, but make it powerful.
This is the first time, Nathan, but you've convinced me. I'm on your side.
Yay!
I'm on your
Huzzah.
side. Make it SRTE and just run with it, and give us more cars that you Europeans scratch your heads about, and we'll buy them.
Yes, please.
And we'll buy a lot of them.
We'll buy a lot. We promise.
All right, let us know in the comments below what you think is SRT being dissolved by Stellantis. Oh, even saying that hurts now. A good or bad thing. Love to get your comments.
Thanks, guys. We appreciate it. Please, once again, your comments below, they help.
See you next time. Ciao.